Every soul has a story. Every story has a purpose. Welcome to Soul and Purpose, where history, mystery, and meaning meet. There is a code older than steel, forged not in the fire of the forge, but in the fire of the human spirit, tested not in battle alone, but in every breath, every choice, every moment when no one is watching. Bushido Wu, the way of the warrior. Not a list of rules, not a manual for combat, but 8 sacred virtues, 8 pillars that transform ordinary men into legends whose names never die. Rectitude, courage, compassion, respect, honesty, honor, loyalty, self-control. These are not qualities you learn. They are qualities you become through fire, through failure, through the daily choice to remain standing when everything screams to fall. In feudal Japan, during the age of the samurai, these 8 virtues were not decoration. They were the difference between a warrior and a wanderer, between a man who could be broken and one who could not. This is the story of Dai, a young samurai who inherited his father's blade, but not his father's soul, who possessed every advantage yet discovered he had nothing that mattered, and the 8 trials that would either forge him into something unbreakable or destroy him completely. Because Bushido does not negotiate, it does not bend, it does not compromise. You either embody the code or you reveal you never truly understood it. Chapter 1. The Samurai with the Hollow Sword. Himeji Province. Autumn of 167. Dai of the Teyada clan. 19 summers stood victorious in the training yard. 17 consecutive victories, 17 opponents defeated, not a single loss in 3 months. His technique was flawless, his speed undeniable, his form perfect. The other samurai in his father's dojo whispered that he might become as legendary as his father had been. Taida Masaru, the hero who died defending the castle at Segara 7 years ago. But Dai knew the truth they didn't. He was empty. Every victory felt hollow. Every praise rang false. Every moment alone with his thoughts revealed a screaming void where his father's honor should have been. That evening, after training, Dai's uncle, Lord Taida Hiroshi, now clan head, summoned him. "Nephew, your skill grows daily. Your father would be proud." "Thank you, uncle. But there's something I must tell you. Tomorrow, a Ronin arrives. He was your father's closest friend. He requests permission to test you. Test me. I've defeated everyone in this province, not in combat, in something deeper. Your father made him promise before dying at Segajara to ensure you learned what cannot be taught through sword forms." "What does that mean?" "You'll understand tomorrow, or you won't. Either way, your path reveals itself." Chapter 2. The first virtue. G. Rectitude. The test begins. Dawn. A figure waited in the courtyard. Old, maybe 60, weathered face, eyes like deep water, worn but immaculately maintained clothing. "You are Dai. I am. And you are." "I am Kenshin, your father's oath, brother. I watched you train yesterday. 17 victories. Impressive. Thank you. But empty. You defeat opponents. You do not defeat yourself. That is why I am here." Kenshin placed a small pouch on the ground. Inside this bag is enough gold to live comfortably for 3 years. It belongs to a merchant who wronged your clan. He cheated your uncle in a trade deal, took advantage of your family's grief after your father's death. Your uncle wants revenge, but cannot act without dishonoring his position. He has asked me to deliver this gift to you. The gold is yours. The merchant will never know. Justice served. Clan honor restored. Dai reached for the bag, but Kenshin continued, "There is another truth. The merchant did not cheat intentionally. He made an honest error in calculation. He's a good man with a large family. This gold represents his life savings. Taking it will ruin him." Dai's hand stopped. So the question becomes, what is right? Clan honor, or individual justice, your uncle's wishes, or the merchant's innocence? This is the first test, the first virtue of Bushido G rectitude, the strength to do what is right, regardless of convenience, regardless of personal cost, regardless of what others expect. Dai stared at the bag. His uncle expected him to take it. His clan's honor demanded it. Refusal would be seen as weakness, maybe even betrayal. But the merchant was innocent. Your father faced this same choice once, Kenshin said. A corrupt lord ordered him to execute an innocent peasant to maintain order. Your father refused. It cost him favor, nearly cost him his position. But he chose GI over convenience. What is your choice? Dai's hand trembled. Every part of him wanted to please his uncle, to avoid conflict, to take the easy path. But his father's voice echoed in memory. A samurai's strength is not in his sword. It is in his ability to choose the hard right over the easy wrong. Dai pushed the bag back toward Kenshin. Return it to the merchant. Tell my uncle I discovered the error. Clan honor is not built on injustice. Kenshin's face remained neutral, but something shifted in his eyes. The first virtue awakens. 7 remain. Chapter 3. The second virtue, courage. The test of fear. 3 days later, Kenshin led Dai to a cliff edge overlooking a gorge. Below, white water crashed against rocks hundreds of feet down. Your father told me you've never faced real danger. Every duel you fought was in a safe training yard. Wooden swords, rules, supervision. I've trained for actual combat. Training is not experience. This is the second virtue, courage, not the absence of fear, but action despite it. Kenshin handed Dai a rope. This rope is old. It might hold your weight, it might not. Climb down to that ledge. He pointed to an outcropping 30 feet down. Retrieve the marker stone there and climb back up. Why? Because your father did this same test at your age. Because courage cannot be practiced in safety. Because you need to know if your training is real or performance. Dai looked down. His heart raced, his palms sweated. Every instinct screamed, "This is insane. This could kill you. This isn't necessary. And if I refuse, then you prove you have skill. But not courage. You can defeat opponents in controlled environments, but you cannot face the unknown. That is not Bushido. That is theater." Dai tied the rope around his waist. His hands shook. "Fear is not your enemy," Kenshin said. "Paralysis is fear, tells you danger is real. Courage tells you to move anyway." Dai stepped over the edge. The rope held barely. It creaked with every movement. The wind howled. The rocks below waited, 30 feet down. Every muscle screamed. Every breath was prayer. He reached the ledge, grabbed the marker stone, started climbing back up. Halfway up, the rope frayed. He heard it snap a strand. Fear exploded. His body wanted to freeze, but Kenshin's voice cut through. You is moving through fear, not waiting for it to pass. Dai climbed faster, hands bleeding, arms burning, the rope fraying with each pull. He reached the top, collapsed, shaking, alive. Kenshin knelt beside him. Now you know courage is not feeling brave. It is acting when your body screams to stop. The second virtue awakens. 6 remain. Chapter 4. The third virtue, compassion. The test of strength. Week 2. The village was buzzing with gossip. A group of bandits had been captured stealing rice from the granary. The penalty was execution. Public, tomorrow at dawn. Kenshin brought Dai to the prison that evening. Look at them. 3 men, dirty, starving. One of them couldn't have been older than 16. They stole enough rice to feed their families for a month. Kenshin said, "The law is clear. Theft means death. Justice demands execution. So why are we here? Because the law is not always justice. This is the third virtue. Compassion, the strength to see beyond rules to human suffering. Your father once faced a similar situation. A samurai had dishonored himself in battle. The code demanded seppuku ritual suicide. But your father investigated, discovered the man had been forced to retreat to save wounded soldiers, not cowardice, compassion. Your father advocated for mercy. It was unpopular. Other samurai called him soft, but he understood. True strength protects. It doesn't just punish. Dai looked at the youngest bandit, barely more than a boy, eyes filled with terror. What can I do? The law is not mine to change. But your voice carries weight. Your uncle respects you. You could speak for mercy, argue for banishment instead of execution. It risks your reputation. Other samurai will see it as weakness, but is following unjust law strength or is having the courage to challenge it. Dai spent that night awake wrestling with the choice. At dawn, as the executions were to begin, Dai stepped forward before the assembled villagers. "Lord Tiada, uncle, I request permission to speak." The crowd murmured. His uncle frowned. "Speak. These men broke the law." But the law did not consider the famine, the failed harvest, the fact that children were starving. "I do not excuse theft, but I ask, is death justice or is it revenge? I propose banishment. Let them leave our province. Let them survive. Let mercy show we are strong enough to bend without breaking." Silence. The other samurai looked at him with contempt. Weakness, softness, dishonor. His uncle stood for a long moment, said nothing. Then the boy speaks wisdom beyond his years. Banishment is granted. As the bandits were led away alive, the youngest one looked back at Dai, bowed deeply. No words, just gratitude. Kenshin appeared beside Dai. Compassion is not weakness, it is strength secure enough to show mercy. The third virtue awakens, 5 remain. Chapter 5, Virtues 4 through 6, The Trial of Character. The fourth virtue, respect. Month 2, Kenshin brought a peasant to the dojo. Old, weathered, smelling of soil and sweat. "This man wishes to learn one sword technique. Will you teach him?" The other samurai laughed. A peasant learning the sword. Absurd. Disrespectful to their entire class. But Dai remembered his father's words. Respect is not granted by position. It is earned by existence. Every person deserves dignity. Dai bowed to the peasant as low as he would bow to a lord. "I will teach you," the samurai whispered. "He shows respect to a peasant. Has he lost his mind?" But Dai taught the old man a simple defensive technique. Patiently, respectfully, with the same care he would show a noble. When the lesson ended, the peasant bowed deeply. "You have your father's heart, young lord. Kenshin-ri, respect, treating all beings with dignity while maintaining your own integrity, not because they deserve it by rank, but because your character demands it." The fourth virtue awakens. The fifth virtue, Makoto, honesty. Week 9. Lord Taeda asked Dai about the clan's military readiness. The truth, they were unprepared. Training had become lax, equipment old, strategy outdated. But saying this would shame his uncle, would imply poor leadership, would damage relationships. Kenshin watched, waiting. Dai took a breath. "Uncle, I must speak truth, even if it displeases you. Our readiness is insufficient. We have become complacent in peace. If war came tomorrow, we would struggle." The room fell silent. His uncle's face darkened, then softened. "You have your father's courage to speak uncomfortable truth. Better to hear it now than discover it in battle. We will add. Dress this. Kenshin later. Makoto, honesty. Speaking truth even when lies would serve you better. Your reputation could have been protected by pleasant falsehood, but Bushido demands truth regardless of cost. The fifth virtue awakens. The sixth virtue, Muyo, honor. Month 4. A rival samurai publicly insulted Dai, called him the peasants' friend and soft warrior. Everyone expected Dai to challenge him to a duel, to restore honor through combat. But Dai had learned true honor cannot be given or taken by others' words. He looked at the rival, bowed slightly. "Your words reveal your character, not mine." I have no need to respond. The rival was furious. "You refuse my challenge." "Coward? No, I simply refuse to let your opinion of me determine my actions. My honor is defined by my code, not your words." He walked away. The crowd whispered. Some called it cowardice, others wisdom. Kenshin Mayo, honor. Living by an internal code that cannot be shaken by external opinion. True honor is not defended in duels. It is maintained in daily choices. The sixth virtue awakens. 2 remain. Chapter 6. The seventh virtue, joy, loyalty, the ultimate test. Month 6, crisis struck. Lord Tadada was accused of treason by the shogun, false charges, political maneuvering by rivals. But the accusation meant death for the entire clan if not answered properly. Every samurai in the clan faced a choice. Remain loyal and risk execution, or abandon the clan and survive. Over 3 days, 17 samurai quietly left, claiming family obligations or health concerns, cowards fleeing under the cover of excuses. Dai watched them go. Kenshin watched Dai. Your uncle will likely be executed. The clan will fall. You could leave now. No one would blame a 19-year-old for choosing survival over doomed loyalty. Will you leave? No. I swore an oath to your father. I remain until death releases me from that oath, then I remain. N also. Even though it may cost your life, especially because it may cost my life. That is when loyalty matters most, when it costs everything. Kenshin's eyes showed something rare, pride. This is Chuji loyalty. Not allegiance to winning sides, but steadfastness to your word regardless of consequence. Your father died at Sikh Gajara, maintaining his loyalty when he could have fled. You carry his spirit. His voice deepened, transcending the moment. Throughout history, this moment tests warriors, when the cost of honor becomes death itself, when loyalty demands sacrifice, when remaining standing means losing everything. At presence and purpose, we teach what happens here in this exact crucible. Not in comfort, in fire, when holding your code means losing your life. For those facing impossible choices where honor and survival conflict, walk this path with us, because the warrior way doesn't promise you'll survive. It promises you'll remain standing until the end. Join us. Subscribe to this ancient path, because in this moment you discover what you truly are. The words settled like snow on stone. The charges were eventually proven false. Lord Tiada exonerated. The clan survived. But those who fled, their names were struck from history. While Dai and the 5 samurai who remained, their loyalty was remembered for generations. The 7th virtue is complete. One remains the hardest of all. Chapter 7, the 8th virtue. Jisei, self-control, the final test. Month 7. Everything came together. The rival samurai who had insulted Dai returned. This time he didn't just insult, he attacked, challenged Dai to a formal duel, to the death. Dai had every right to accept. His skill was superior. Victory was certain. His honor would be restored in the eyes of those who doubted him. But Kenshin posed one question. What does accepting prove? That I'm not a coward to whom people who don't matter, or to yourself who knows the truth. You've spent 7 months learning 7 virtues. Now the 8th, the final virtue tests whether you've truly integrated them or merely performed them. J's self-control, mastery over the only enemy that truly matters. Yourself, your ego, your need for validation. Your desire to prove yourself to people whose opinions carry no weight. Your rival wants you to fight because he knows he can make you react. He cannot control his own ego, so he seeks to control yours. If you accept his challenge, he wins because he proves you are still a slave to others' provocations. But if you refuse, not from fear but from mastery, you demonstrate the highest form of strength. The strength to not need to demonstrate strength. Dai faced his rival before the assembled dojo. I decline your challenge, coward. No, I simply refuse to be controlled by your need for validation. You want to fight because you need to prove something. I have nothing to prove. My code is complete with or without your approval. 7 virtues have awakened in me: rectitude, courage, compassion, respect, honesty, honor, loyalty, and now the 8th and final, self-control. I control myself. Therefore, I control everything that matters. He turned and walked away. The rival screamed insults, the crowd whispered. But Dai felt something profound, complete freedom from others' opinions. Kenshin stood beside him. Your father's training is complete. The 8 virtues of Bushido live in you now, not as concepts, as bone, as breath, as unshakable foundation. Chapter 8. 6 months later, the code lives. Spring 168. Dai, now 20 summers, had transformed. Not in appearance, not in skill, but in presence. He moved differently, spoke differently, existed differently. The 8 virtues were no longer things he practiced. They were things he was. When faced with corruption, GI activated automati. Kali, do what is right. When confronting danger, you responded without hesitation. Move through fear. When witnessing suffering, Jin guided his actions. Strength protects. When meeting anyone, Rai shaped his behavior. All deserve dignity. When questioned, Makoto controlled his tongue, speak only truth. When insulted, Mio remained unshaken. Honor is internal. When others fled, Chuji kept him standing, loyalty unto death. When provoked, Jace prevented reaction. Master yourself first. This was Bushido, not rules memorized, identity forged. Chapter 9. The student becomes teacher. 1 year after training began, a young samurai, maybe 17 summers, approached Dai in the training yard. I heard you trained with Kenshin, that he taught you the code. He guided me. I learned by walking the path. Can you teach me? Dai looked at the boy, saw himself a year ago, skilled but empty, perfect in form but hollow in spirit. The code cannot be taught, only discovered through 8 tests, 8 trials, 8 moments where everything you think you are gets stripped away until only truth remains. I'm willing. Good. Tomorrow we begin with the hardest virtue of all, which is GI rectitude, the courage to do what is right when everything in you wants to do what is easy. As Dai spoke, he realized these weren't his words anymore, or Kenshin's, or even his father's. They were Bushido itself, timeless, speaking through anyone committed to embodying it. The student becomes the teacher. The code passes forward. The virtues never die. They simply wait for the next warrior willing to forge them into soul. Chapter 10. Kenshin's final teaching. That evening, Kenshin found Dai by the river. Tomorrow I leave. Why? Because my oath to your father is fulfilled. You have become what he hoped. A warrior not of technique, but of character. But there's still so much I don't know. There will always be more. That's no. The point. You now carry Bushido as foundation. Whatever comes, you will face it with these 8 virtues guiding you. The code is not complicated, but it is difficult because it demands you become someone most men never attempt to be. Kenshin's voice took on that timeless quality, transcending the moment. These 8 virtues, this code called Bushido, has forged warriors for centuries, not just in Japan, but anywhere men choose honor over convenience. At Presence and Purpose, we preserve this code not as museum artifact, as living practice. The same virtues that shaped samurai can shape modern men: rectitude, courage, compassion, respect, honesty, honor, loyalty, self-control. 8 simple virtues. But when embodied completely, they create someone the world cannot break. For those who hear this call, who feel the pull towards something harder, truer, more real than modern comfort, walk this path with us every week. The ancient code, not as history, as training. Because the world needs warriors, and warriors need Bushido. Subscribe, join this lineage, walk with us, welcome to the way, let's train together. Dai bowed deeply. Where will you go to find the next one who needs teaching? The next skilled warrior with an empty spirit like you a year ago. Kenshin smiled. Your father would be proud, not because you mastered technique, but because you mastered yourself. He walked into the mist and was gone. Dai stood alone, but not truly alone, because 8 virtues lived in him, a code older than steel, stronger than death. Bushido Widow, the way that never ends. The 8 virtues eternal. 10 years later, 1618, Dai, now 29, had become known throughout the provinces. Not for victories in battle, not for political power, not for wealth or status, but for being unbreakable. When faced with corruption, he chose rectitude. When confronted with danger, he moved with courage. When witnessing suffering, he acted with compassion. When meeting anyone, he showed respect. When questioned, he spoke with honesty. When insulted, his honor remained immovable. When others fled, his loyalty never wavered. When provoked, his self-control was absolute. This was Bushido embodied. Young samurai came from distant provinces to train with him. He taught them not technique but character, not forms but virtues. The code is simple. He would tell them 8 virtues, 8 pillars, 8 foundations that once forged into your soul cannot be shaken by any storm. Your skill with the sword matters less than your skill with yourself. Master these 8 virtues, and you master everything that truly matters. One evening alone in meditation, Dai reflected on his journey. From the hollow warrior with 17 empty victories to the complete man whose defeats and victories alike were lived with integrity. The transformation wasn't dramatic, it was daily. In each small choice, each moment of choosing virtue over convenience, the 8 virtues of Bushido, Ji, eat, rectitude, do what is right, Yu Yong, courage, act despite fear, Jin Ren, compassion,